subjects in Uni, and well, not random, but fundamental subjects in Uni and how to apply them at a low to mid level. Today's lesson will be on movement and dash blocking. So Uni is a very ground-based fighting game. There is more emphasis on neutral on the ground compared to another fighting game like Melty Blood, which is like the spiritual predecessor of this game, which is very air-heavy. In Uni, there's not as many air options as other fighting games. More than Street Fighter for sure, but definitely less than Guilty Gear, definitely less than BlazBlue. You don't have as many options. There's the Assault, which is like a fairly slowish air dash option. It's also a very predictable angle, and it's very fixed. You don't have as many options out of it, like compared to like Guilty Gear or like like Melty Blood or something like that. So that kind of forces most of the gameplay to happen on the ground. Another reason why you're not assaulting a lot as well is that anti-air options in this game are really good. There's a lot of really fast head and roll moves or really big anti-air buttons. So what it kind of relegates you is like more ground-based footsies, kind of like a Street Fighter or like a KOF. You can actually kind of compare movement in this game closer to a KOF than a Street Fighter game, because Assault is functionally kind of like a short hop. Like, it's kind of like a hyper hop, even if you can want to push it that far. But yeah, so you want to be on the ground most of the time. So most of the neutral in this game is just like walking around or like dashing. Walking is really good for fine-tuning like minute changes in your position. So, and that's honestly good enough to even just dodge a lot of moves. For example, Merkava 5B will be my example here. If I don't move, he's going to hit the center of my character, and then the attack is obviously going to hit. But if I just move around just fairly slightly, I can make the move whiff and enter his range and enter out of his range. Like, there's these small differences that are, while you're walking, it's like enough to make certain moves whiff, and also even maybe put you in range of your own attacks. So let me just stop doing that. The next time you like touch your character, just take a second to just kind of see with how far your character's movement speed is. And in this case, walking speed. So count to like 1 second, like 60 frames. Within 60 frames, how far forward can your character move? So 1. So Enkidu managed to get that far, and then 1. Enkidu managed to move back that far. So when you're playing footsies or you're just trying to play neutral, like within 1 second, that's how far your position can change. So that's how much influence for the next 1 second, how far you can move back and forth without having to, dash or backdash. So being able to know how far you can move back and how far your opponent can move back can like help influence your decision making and put you in better positions to throw attacks or avoid attacks. So yeah, once again, just small changes are enough to make certain moves whiff. And then you can even get a nice punch like that. And then walk back in and get a counter hit. Okay. So where I'm going to move that onto next is dashing. So dashing is kind of obvious. You can dash forward. And there's two different types of dashes in Uni. There's step dashing and run dashes. So run dashes will move all the way forward without stopping, but step dashes are like Akatsuki. I will pick a character and demonstrate quickly. Actually, I'll pick Watson. Yeah. So step dashes, you can't run with them. They will move a fixed distance every time. And usually step dashes tend to be a little bit quicker in moving that set distance than run type dashes. But they move less far. So that's kind of like a short issue for some characters. Like Wallstein doesn't have amazing movement because of the fact that his dash is in fact just a step dash as opposed to just a run. So it's part of balancing in some cases. Like, it's to make some characters like not too good. Like imagine if Atista, the Guile character, could suddenly just run at you. That's terrifying. So you don't want stuff like that. So one of the most important things related to forward dashing is the ability to dash block. And what dash blocking is that as soon as you initiate a dash, you're able to immediately block out of that dash at any point in the dash, during the startup, during the active frames of the dash, and during the recovery. So what that lets you do is that it lets you approach your opponent very safely without risking getting hit. And that's something that's very rare in fighting games. Most fighting games like Street Fighter, as soon as you dash forward, it's a commitment. But in this game, dashing forward is a very low commitment option to approach your opponent. So I will, something you might find often is that you're getting zoned out by characters with really big buttons like Merkava. Like a lot of Merkava players will do this and just constantly poke you out when maintaining their spacing. In order to get in on that, you have to start dash blocking, because if you just gotta run at them, eventually you're just gonna get hit, right? So you need a dash block. Slowly but surely, you will make your way in and get in range of your normal, and then be able to stop him from doing this nonsense. Yeah. So that's really important. This is really important, especially against zoning characters like Hilda, Batista, Phonon, who have really big buttons and also really good projectiles, because you're going to need to make your way slowly in on them while still being able to block. And dash blocking is your best option. So to initiate dash block is pretty simple. All you really have to do is just dash forward and then hold them back or back to stop your dash and also block at the same time. Using a button macro, the AB macro is usually recommended because that's the fastest way to input the dash and then immediately block. You can do it if you're a stick user, you just hit AB like normal. But if you're a pad user or piano user, I guess, you can there's an AB macro as well that you can map. If you're not able to hit A and B naturally, so this is using the AB macro. You get pretty much the same results. Some argue even better. But yes, using macros if you have to is pretty useful. You can't do that in arcades, but we're not in Japan. No one cares. So yeah, using dash blocking really important, really good for most matchups. Actually, every matchup. You'll use you can dash block. You can buffer a dash block out of a lot of situations, even on wake up or during mid block string as well, and get it and also move forward while blocking. Backdashing Backdashes in this game are invincible, kind of like Street Fighter 4, and they tend to move a pretty good distance. They're actually pretty good, but one of the penalties of the backdash is that they're invincible, but there's also punishable recovery frames. So if I don't backdash something properly, I might just get punished. So let's just set Merkava to hit me again. Yeah, sorry, not that. No, not that glove. Yeah, so I messed up the backdash, and then I'm getting hit. But if you time your backdash properly, you can backdash certain moves and even sometimes get a punish. So let's see if I can do this. Nope. There we go, yeah. Well, Inkido doesn't get a punish because he sucks, but most other characters can probably get something started. So you can, backdash to avoid normals, but it takes some timing. There we go. Nope. Yeah, so like that. So you can use backdash to move backwards, obviously, but with some characters it's really important because they need to be able to get out of your opponent's range very quickly. Like Hilda and other zoners, they want to be away from you, so using their backdash to kind of get away is kind of helpful. Well, Hilda's backdash isn't amazing, but she does need to use it. Let's see. Yeah. So sorry, I gotta make him stop doing stuff. Sorry. There's another penalty to backdashing too much is that you lose grid. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but you don't want to be backdashing excessively. You want to just be able to you want to backdash just the right amount that you need, so that you're not just straight up running away from your opponent the whole time, because then you'll lose grid, and that means you lose chain shift. I'll go more into how to manage your grid and chain shift in coming weeks, but for now we're just working on movement. Do you guys have any questions that you're watching? Any questions? Any? No, so every character has different walk speed. Characters with really fast walk speed are like Orie, the girl with the rapier that does Divine Thrust and stuff. Characters with kind of slower walk speed are like Seth. Oh, sorry, within the same character. Yeah. So within the same character, the forward and back walk speed is the same. They are about the same usually. But the difference between characters, there is differences between characters. Some characters move faster than others, just naturally. Anything else? No? Yep. Sorry.
I saw you do a short comp earlier,
Oh, so assault?
But it was really short.
Yeah. No, I think you were just kind of seeing things. Enkidu doesn't have a short hop. Oh, they can't? Okay. I care about these guys more than the people on stream, so I'd rather answer their questions, honestly.
You should have ended in that.
Yeah. Okay. If it's assault, I'm going to cover it in like a second. Okay. So, assaulting is done by just doing forward and D, like 6D, and 6D in the air. You can also do 6AB in the air, the dash macro. It's exactly the same, it's just another way for you to do it. 6AB, yeah. So, it's sort of your air dash of the game, but just not as good as like a Blaze Blue air dash or a Guilty Gear air dash. If you play BB Tag, you will kind of immediately notice this. If you try to air dash with Uni characters and then you try to compare them to BB characters, you will notice that they are not the same at all. They're very different. The Uni air dashes tend to have a more upwards angle to them. Sorry, not air dashes, assaults have a more upwards angle to them, and that kind of makes it a lot easier for them to get anti-aired, I mean, and also makes it hard to avoid things sometimes. Well, actually, you can get over some things better with an assault versus like an IED in a Blaze Blue game, but most of the time, Blaze Blue air dashes are better. On the ground, assaults have a bit of horizontal tracking, and what I mean by that is that if you're further away, the assault will go a bit further than it normally would if you were right up to their face, because you can't assault past somebody, but you can assault as close to them as the game will let you. So if you're up, in some rare situations you can, but most of the time no. So if you're up close to someone, the game will, the horizontal tracking will keep you in front. If you're a bit further away, it will move you a bit further, and then it will shorten the closer you are. So there is a bit of horizontal tracking that will stop you from overshooting your opponent. So you'll always end up in front, basically. What was that? Assaulting also builds a bit of grid, which is important if you're trying to build grid. So it's considered an offensive action, which most offensive actions, like attacking your opponent, moving up to them, will build grid in some capacity. Yeah, same with forward dashing. Forward dashing also builds a little bit of grid. But yeah, more on grid management in coming weeks. So ground assaults also are very clearly airborne, and what that tends to mean is that you can go over attacks that hit along the floor. So let's switch to Phonon, and I will kind of show you. Oops, I screwed up. Let's try again. Okay, yeah, Phonon. So let me just go to her recording slot. Yeah, okay. So you can get over some attacks by assaulting over them. Like a lot of low-hitting moves, like for example, Phonon Free C, can be easily assaulted over, and then you can get like an easy punish on her. Or you can also obviously just jump, but assaulting will move you further forward, and also has other benefits like, you know, building grid and stuff. And then you can also get over like sometimes fireballs. Phonon's fireball hits very low along the ground, so that's pretty easy to assault over. Another fireball that you can usually get over is a Katsuki, which I will swap to. There it goes. But this takes kind of proper spacing. There we go. So you can also assault over fireballs, which is pretty useful. Yeah. If you screw up, you might get this to happen sometimes, but if you time it properly, you should clear it very easily. Yeah, so you can get over normals. Assaults are also, like, they're literally airborne, so what that also means that grounded throw attacks will, like, regular throws and command grabs will miss against assaults. So assaults are frame 1 ground throw invincible, so that means you can assault over throw attempts as well. But usually it's better to just, you know, jump, because then actually assaulting over like command grabs is usually pretty good actually, because then you get a more consistent punish. I won't really demonstrate that, but I will just kind of move on to like aerial assaulting. So when I was watching people play last week, I kind of saw a lot of people doing this. And this is actually not a great way to approach your opponent, namely because you very clearly kind of shout out, "I'm going to jump at you from this angle." So you better be ready to anti-air it, because it's really high in the air, it's really slow, it's really easy to predict what's going to happen next. Most people that see that will just immediately just kind of press a button, anti-air button. and you usually don't want to approach that way. Some characters can make great use of aerial assault to aid in their game plan. Like, for example, let me just pull out Chaos. Where's Chaos? Yeah, Chaos. Like he has a lizard, so he can supplement his aerial, like cover his aerial assault by calling the lizard to do stuff, and also like use that as a way to approach as well, because he can do stuff like that. But most characters like Akatsuki won't really have much use for like really high air assaults, because it's just like it's just too easy to anti-air. Some characters with better movement. Actually, Akatsuki has some decent more movement options than most characters. He has a double jump, and he also has ways to alter his air momentum. But for the most part, you don't really want to do really high air assaults like this. A bit lower to the ground is kind of okay, so like immediately jump upwards and input the assault as fast as you can. It's almost the same like height as a regular assault, but it's just at like a slightly different angle. So that's like kind of okay. That's decent. You can do better things from that, and it might even be easier to avoid certain attacks that way as well. But really high assaults, not recommended, unless you're certain characters. Yeah. So aside from standard movement mechanics, there are more unique movement options in the game, but they're delegated by characters. I will just kind of demonstrate with Akatsuki quickly that he does in fact have a double jump. Most characters in this game do not have double jumps. Only some do. Akatsuki does, Linne does. Elnum kinda technically does, but only during combos. But yeah, most characters can't just double jump like in a BlazBlue game. Some characters have only one character in the game has an air backdash, and that's Seth. And I will demonstrate that quickly. Where is it? Yeah. Seth is the only character in the game with an air backdash, and that's his unique trait. One of his unique traits, I mean. So he's basically... he also has a fastball, which is another option that only he has. Most characters don't have fastball options. You can do fastball backdash to like alter his movement a lot. So most characters don't have that kind of mobility. Oh, actually, another character that I kind of missed is Merkava. He can fly. Merkava flight is... I picked the wrong character. Merkava flight is really good for doing air-to-airs or to like avoid attacks or to just kind of like stall in the air. Just think like, Rob in Smash, where he just kind of flies up in the screen and just stays away for all day. Kind of like that. He can also do his swoop, which is just while you're flying, just 6-6, which is another movement option that's unique to Merkava. But yeah, just kind of explore what your character is able to do. Some characters can utilize movement better than others because they're just designed that way. Like Linne is a really fast character who has a lot of movement options, and that's kind of how she is. And then Molstein just kind of has nothing because he's the slow grappler character of the game. But yeah, so key points: dash blocking really important. 6AB1. That's how you approach in this game, and that's how you want to get close to your opponent and within the range where you can do something. Walking, useful to properly adjust your spacing, and then so that you can hit your normals or avoid normals. And assaulting is a good way to approach, but you have to be very careful because you run the risk of getting anti-aired if you don't do it right. Okay, you guys have any questions? No? Nope? Okay, no questions? Alright, so that's it for today's lesson. Thank you everybody for listening. If you have any questions, DM me or something on Twitter, I guess Facebook, Discord, anything. EL_Rikir, you can find me. It's pretty easy. But thank you everybody for listening. And Rambat will start in about 10 minutes, I think. So if you want to watch that, stick around. Thank you.